Hey, what's up everyone? This is Chirag Joshi. Welcome back to the channel. Today is 21st of May 2020. Two significant things for today. Number one, it's my birthday. I've turned 22. I'm guessing you're wishing me at this point, so I'll just say thank you so much. Number two is that it's been exactly 1 year since I've graduated from college and I've entered the real world. And that's what this video is all about. This video is all about what has happened in the past 1 year, what are the things that I've learned, what are the events that have happened, and what are the takeaways that I can give you guys from so that you can take these lessons forward in your life. So I'm going to concentrate on 5 big events that have happened in the past year that have allowed me to sort of grow as a person and also put me in the position that I am today as of 1 year outside of college, right, into the real world, because things change a lot. So the first thing that I want you all to know is what was I thinking when I was getting out of college, right? So here's what it was. The deal was that I had taken permission from my mom and dad for 1 year after college, that I would have 1 year to pursue my passion, try and see if I can make a career out of it, and just set it up to a scale where I can do this full time and it starts paying me. So I had 1 year to do that, and in my own head, I was in the process. I was building a business in my own head. Actually, at that point, I had some ideas. I knew what I wanted to do. So the idea was to build a team together, and then build what I had in mind, and then go for some sort of a VC funding or any kind of funding for that matter. So that was the plan, and with that in mind, I just graduated from college, did not sit for my placements, and that leads to the first big event that happened. The first big event that happened was that I grabbed an internship at Misilio Mobility Private Limited, which happens to be the only VC fund in India for electric vehicles only, and I grabbed an internship there. So the story was that I was right. I think it was just around my exams were gonna get over in April, and I had no clue how I was going to go about things. I was supposed to do something with this certain someone. Let's not name them, and I wasn't too happy about it because wasn't getting too good of a vibe there. So I just randomly applied. I came across Misilio a couple of months earlier, and I saw that they're accepting business proposals for potential funding. I'm like, cool, let's just go and apply. So I just applied, and then I forgot about it. And then right around I think April mid, or I think right around when my exams ended, I got a mail from Mr. Anand GCP. He happens to be the chief operating officer of Misilio, and he wrote back to me saying that, hey, great work, like the way you're doing, but currently we're not funding companies that are business innovation only. They're trying to fund companies that are in the tech, that are developing some sort of intellectual property, right? And that wasn't my idea at that point. So I was like, okay. And then the last line of his mail was, hey, happy to chat more on this if you need some more clarity. He left his number. I'm like, wow, okay. But I wasn't really taken aback from that, because it's not like I expected them to say, yeah, here you go, take the funding and go ahead and build a company. I wasn't expecting that. So I just called him up just to understand, a little more about how I could improve, how can I learn, how can I do things better, because this was Misilio, started by Shibalal, one of the Infosys co-founders. So yeah, for me it was a big deal to just get in touch with them. So I just called him up, and what was supposed to be a 10-minute or less than 10-minute call around why I couldn't get the funding ended up being an hour and a half long. And I just spoke all about what I was trying to do, why was I in the field, what have I done previously, including social media and everything else. And in that 1.5 hour, that got me. I think I convinced Anand enough to give me an internship, and he, towards the end of the call, he just told me, hey, I'd love to chat more, why don't you drop by the office. I was like, great, let's do that. So that's how it happened, and we met up, and I eventually grabbed the internship. So yeah, it was a crazy way in which I got the internship, and I didn't expect to. But yeah, I did end up getting there, and I spent 3 months in the company from May to August, and it was an amazing experience being right in the early days of a potential billion-dollar group, right, Micelio. And it was amazing working with Anand. I learned a lot from him in that short span of time, and yeah, it was great for me to be there. So yeah, I think the lesson from this is that, to always be hungry to learn. Had I not made that call to inquire more about why I was rejected, I don't think I would have gotten the internship, right? So I think the lesson there is to always be hungry to learn more, irrespective of if you've succeeded or if you've gotten rejected. I think the mindset should always be in a learning mindset, like, oh, why did not I get that? Let's learn more about it. So yeah, that's event number one, and that's lesson number one from this event. So the second biggest event to happen in the past year was declining a full-time job at Micelio Mobility Private Limited. It's funny thing. So of course I spent 3 months there, and Anand liked my work. I also enjoyed working there. My role was mostly in branding and marketing, and developing the brand from scratch. I was working on the group's brand, on sub brands under the group, on Shreya Shibalal, who is the CEO, his brand, personal brand as well. So I was involved in all of that, and Anand told me that he'd like me to convert full time and work at Micelio. It was a great offer, honestly. I mean, like, my career would have been great, of course, in the marketing and branding sphere, which of course I enjoyed, but something didn't click for me, because if you remember, I had made up my mind that this year for me is all about going all in on my dream, on what I want to do, on my passions, right? So I thought if I settle here, I wouldn't have tried enough, right? If I would settle with this job, then I would have been completely all in, and I didn't want to be dishonest to the work, right? I didn't want to take up the job because I knew it was amazing and precious, and then not give all my 100% there, and I knew I couldn't. So I told this to Anand. I told him that, hey, I got this internship because I just wanted some side income, but not really a full-time job at this point. And he understood, and so I quit. And then I was of course on my own then, and I started to look out for potential co-founders and to join me. So I came across a lot of them through my Instagram. Social media has been a big help. I called them up. We discussed a bunch about how we want to do things, etc., etc., etc. Try to form a team. So this took up August. The month of August was all about this. Towards the end of August, I figured out some really potential practical things that I couldn't overcome, that the other person couldn't overcome, to come and join me at this point. He had to wait another year to join me, and I was like, okay, that can't happen, right? So that was a bummer, but I think almost immediately did I start looking for someone else, and I actually found someone. So this is the second person I was hoping who could be my co-founder in the venture that I was trying to build. And again, we went through a couple of things, but then again, the entire month of September was spent in that, and things didn't turn out the way they wanted, because again, some practical challenges from the other person's side that I could totally understand, and didn't want to force it, right? So here I was at the end of 2 months after Micelio, not really knowing what to do ahead. Pretty clueless, actually. That was a really, really stressful time, because I was like, oh my god, I'm already 5 months into my 1 year that I took from my mom and dad, and doesn't really seem like I've done too much. So yeah, it was a pretty intense time. So I think the lesson, if that from this period that I learned, or that can be a takeaway from you, is that if you're gonna try, then go all in, right? If you've started the process of doing something amazing, and you've given yourself a certain time period for it, then don't settle for things, right? Just go all in. And I think that's a big lesson. And I mean, you would have heard this in multiple places, that if you're gonna try, go all in, or don't even start, right? And I think this is a big takeaway from this particular event of my life in the last year. So the third big event to happen in my life was that I had to be driven differently. So here I was at the end of September, very clueless, not knowing what to do. In my head, I was I was in the time frame in my head that, hey, if I'm not able to commit to build something in this 1 year, then I won't be able to work in the industry that I love, right, which is the electric vehicle and sustainable mobility industry. That was a big sort of stress in my head, and I remember I couldn't really sleep well during those times, and I was always thinking and trying to just figure out what is to be done, right? And then I figured out, so then I came to a conclusion that, hey, I can't build this huge company right now in this 1 year, and and on the other side, I can't also not work in the industry of my choice. So then the only option was to commit to the industry, commit to this space, commit to this field first, and then start small into taking baby steps towards it. Because even up till that point in September, I still had plan B and C, like, okay, gonna do an MBA, gonna do something else, take up a job somewhere else. I hadn't fully committed to the industry because I laid my hopes on the success of this one idea. But I made that mental switch that, okay, you know what, I think I have to commit to the industry first. Let's commit to it first, because I realized I cannot not work in this industry. It would have been impossible. So I made that switch, and I was like, okay, committing to the industry first for the rest of my life. Made a hard commitment, and whatever I've eliminated plans B and C's, and I've like, whatever I do from in my life from this point on, it's going to be in this industry. So I had to then start small. I figured out, so I made a huge change. So I made a change across all facets of what I was trying to do. I eliminated my personal account on Instagram. I had two accounts, right? Eliminate my personal account, change the name of my current account where I posted a lot about electric vehicles and all of that. Changed the name and the why and what is this all about completely, from just a normal page to a person's life who's who's trying to build a business in the electric vehicle space in India, and all of that. Change the entire narrative, change the entire approach, change my mind completely. So it was a big change I made, and it was very big for me as well. Even I was surprised that that I was ready to make such a big change, but I did. And I think it was important for me to make that, because being rigid of the plan that I started off with, that, hey, I want to build this company, blah blah blah, would have not set me up, or would have not put me in the best position to succeed. And changing my mind and changing all of the strategies according to that helped me put myself in a position to succeed sometime down the line. So I think that was a very important thing. So I think the lesson to take here is to not change, to not be rigid about your mindset, to not be rigid about not adapting to the situation. Because a lot of times what happens is things, of course, don't go out according to plan, so you can't really stay too rigid about it. You changing a mind is a really big strength. It means you're trying to adopt, you're trying to evolve, and that's a good mindset. And that's how humans thrive. We're the most adaptable beings, not the most strongest, and that's our superpower. So you should recognize that changing a mind is a strength. So don't be scared of it when you start feeling that, oh, what I decided isn't really materializing. So yeah, I think that's the big lesson from this particular event. So the fourth biggest event to happen in my life in the last year is building a habitat. So here I was, who had completely changed his mind, and who had completely changed all his social profiles, all my messaging, everything. It was called Energy Quotient previously. I scrapped it all away. Now it was called Driven Differently everywhere, and but it was always about entrepreneurship, right? It was always about building a business. So now I couldn't pursue this big massive business that I wanted to build. I thought, what, let's be practical and let's start small. So I wrote down 3 small ideas that I could work on, and I wanted to figure out which one I could. So I chose this particular idea, which was basically building an e-commerce platform for electric vehicles in India. At that point there wasn't really anything like that, and through my insights that I saw in the year 2019, which is very big for electric vehicles, I thought, now there's a natural interest of people towards electric vehicles. I think the first thing they need is a place where they can go get themselves educated about all the products in the country, and also get all of the things that need to make a purchase decision regarding electric vehicles, because that wasn't there, and actually that isn't really there even now. So so I thought, okay, let's build this thing, and I called it habitat.com. uh, so from October of 2019 to February of 2020, of course, I was all in on this. I was extremely focused on what I wanted to do. I was, because at this point it was all on me, right? And I was heading towards the end of my 1 year term. So I really had to do something. I really had to get off this. So that those 5 months, I learned how to design websites. I learned how to, really think about e-commerce. How does e-commerce as a business work? I really had to figure out the legal part of building a business, the part of how do I raise money for my first couple of just to start off the operations, right? Just start off the website. And in my head in the zone that, okay, I'm going to be a small time entrepreneur. I'm going to start small, I'm going to build up as and when it grows, and slowly and steadily. Not gonna panic and chase something too big, and gonna go really practical. That was the zone I was in. So I was doing everything possible to build a business at that point, and it was one of the most fruitful 5 months I've had. I was extremely focused. It really so in a sense, what happened was I took complete actions. I took complete responsibilities for my actions, because I knew if I didn't put in the work today, no one's gonna tell me, and nothing's gonna happen, right? Because I didn't have anyone. I was the only guy. So from designing websites using Adobe XD, which is a great tool by the way, to getting in touch with developers, to raising money, to incorporating a company, to getting a trademark done, to speaking to 60 plus electric vehicle brands in the country, pitching them what I'm trying to do, why I'm trying to do, and how I can be of help to them, and really adding value to them first, and then thinking of how I could monetize it. But of course, having a entrepreneur's hat on, not being completely stupid about it. But yeah, those 5 months were amazing, and I think I that was really the time where I really felt, what, I enjoy having all that pressure on me and doing what I like. So I was in one of the most amazing periods. I think it still continues, but there's one last big event that I need to tell you about. But I think that event of building a website, building a company all on my own, and I was really close. I was I was really close to just having it all my way. And then this one last big event happened, which I'll tell you about in a bit. But I think the lesson from this was, once you take responsibilities for your actions, and you recognize that nobody else is gonna tell you what to do, nobody else is gonna sit on your head and tell you, and you don't really have anyone to blame. That's when you start becoming kind of really very happy with yourself, because you understand that it's all my fault. It's all your fault if nothing happens, and you're accountable to yourself, and you start being honest with yourself in that process. You can't really be like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, because if you don't, no one else will. So you don't really have anyone to blame, and you don't really have anyone who is going to tell you to do stuff. You have to figure out everything on your own. So I became extremely strategic, extremely passionate, extremely practical in that period, and it was a great period in my life. So I think the lesson to learn is to get into a state of always taking control of your own actions, irrespective of if you're an entrepreneur or not. Just in life, just take control of your actions. So yeah, that was lesson from the fourth event of my life. This brings us to the fifth and last big event to happen in my life, and it is about a happy accident that happened. So this is mid of February, or around 20th of February, and I'm less than 1 month away from launching my website, and I'm in between incorporating my company, getting a trademark for it, and all of that stuff. And at this point, I'm on LinkedIn, really networking solidly, like, right? I mean, like, LinkedIn sending me messages that you look like a power searcher or power networker, please buy our premium pack. So even I was really extensively using LinkedIn to get in touch with people. And during that process, in the comment section of miscellaneous post, actually on LinkedIn, I came across this guy called Nikhil Nair, and it said founder at Om Mobility. So this was a time when I was just randomly connecting with people who had anything to do with electric vehicles, because I mean, I'm building an e-commerce company. I need to have everyone on board, right? Just randomly sent him a request. Did not care. Forgot about it. A few days later, he DM'd me back and he said that, hey, I checked out your profile. You seem to be from Christ. I'm from Christ too. Let's hang. Let's chat. Let's connect. I was like, wow, that's great. So I went forward. I went and met him in WeWork in Kormangla, and we hit off really, really, really well on a personal and professional note, right? There's a lot of people who have met, and you rarely find yourself aligned according to their vision and their motive for doing something. And now Nikhil is an amazing guy. That counts for a separately different video about what he is and who he is and how he's spent the last decade. But anyway, so the point is that Nikhil, I told Nikhil what I was doing. I told him that I'm really close to launching my own company, etc., etc. And at that point, as part of Om Mobility, Nikhil was testing out a couple of hypotheses, and one of them was exactly what I was doing. So he offered me to join in and sort of whatever, lead that division in Om and all of that. So I think I met Nikhil for all of 5 hours in a span of 2 days before I made the decision of completely, chucking what I had and going on board in Om Mobility and joining Om Mobility, because yeah, I felt the opportunity was right. I felt the people were right. I felt the founder, the guy starting it, was right. The intention was right. So it was a very good vibe I was getting. But I was still apprehensive. Like, wow, I'm throwing away all that I had done for the past 5-6 months. Really hard time. But then talking to Nikhil and being really honest about what I thought about it allowed me to make that jump. And of course, a lot of trust that Nikhil was showing in me, and the kind of statements he made to me about Om Mobility really sort of prompted me that, hey, this could be a big opportunity that I might have. And ultimately I had to decide between my ego of running my own company and working towards the cause, which is to shift humanity to sustainable base of transportation as fast as possible. So when it came to that, it was a easy decision for me, because I knew that if I was part of Om Mobility, I would have had the chance of making change and making impacting people to shift to electric vehicles much faster than I ever could on my own. So and I chose that. So it took me 5 hours to do that. And yeah, I think ever since that, it's been a great decision. The team is great. We're doing some amazing work as I speak, and some really awesome things on track. And I find myself really lucky, because after that the coronavirus hit, everything went haywire. I couldn't have imagined if I was on my own what I would have been doing, right? So I think the lesson from this last incident is that always look out for huge opportunities and learn to spot them, because sometimes they're really in your face and you can't really see them, right? So always learn to spot huge opportunities, because they don't really come by that often, and and in such a great shape and form. So yeah, this was a lesson. I took that big leap and that big jump, and that happens to be the fifth and last big event in the last 1 year of my life. So as you can see, a lot of insane stuff that's happened. Really looking forward to how we as Om Mobility charge forward and do some amazing work, which I'm confident of that we will. Hopefully I can share more about it with you guys soon. But yeah, this was 1 year filled with a lot of action, with a lot of ups and downs, with a lot of really self introspection and a lot of thinking, a lot of just honest work, honestly. And yeah, this is where it's put me today as of 21st of May 2020, exactly 1 year since I've graduated from college. So yeah, this is what it is. Needless to say that these are all professional things that I've spoken about. On a personal front, there were challenges on there as well that I had to wither from a family and friend standpoint and all of that. I think one last thing I want to leave you with is that on a personal front, it's super important for you to have strong relationships and actively build them, because they really form the crux of your life, irrespective of professional or personal. The relationships are super important. So be really mindful about who are the people you're hanging out with, who are the people around you, do they really care about your success or not, because it would turn out that a lot of people don't. But if there's 10% of people who don't really care, I think there are 90% of people who do care. So have a balance of both, and learn to spot them, because it's very crucial, because these inner people, your core people, including friends and family, are very important for your success in your life. So always be mindful of that, in terms of who has your best sort of faith, or the best intentions for you in their heart. So yeah, be mindful of that. So, yep, this is the video. I hope you liked it. I hope I was able to summarize. I think I went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but anyway, I had to tell this the story of an entrepreneur's life 1 year after graduation. I hope you liked it. I hope you took away some value from that, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, be driven differently.